You've been taught to look outward for power, to search for meaning in books, in voices louder than yours, in systems and signs that point away from the self. But Thoth, the ancient mind of wisdom, the scribe of the gods, taught otherwise. He whispered across eons that the greatest mysteries are not encrypted in scrolls or symbols outside of you, but in the silent chamber behind your breath. Before the word, there is the breath. Before the breath, there is the stillness. And before the stillness, there is the awareness that observes it all. In the modern world, silence is feared like an abyss. Every moment is filled, every breath consumed in pursuit of more noise, more validation, more distraction. But the breath of Thoth begins not in sound, but in the silence that precedes it. That sacred hush, like the pause between heartbeats, holds the original blueprint of your voice. This is the first illusion we must dissolve, that your voice is something external, a product of your throat, your training, your language. The truth is deeper. Your voice is the current of consciousness made audible, and to activate it, we must return to the primal womb of awareness, where nothing is said, but everything is heard. Imagine a still lake before dawn, the surface unbroken, reflecting only the sky. This is the inner mind before thought arises. In this space, the breath of Thoth enters not as air, but as presence. Inhale gently, not as a task, but as a remembrance. Let the breath move through you, like light through water. Notice how it needs no instruction. Notice how it carries you effortlessly toward now. From this stillness, the sacred voice begins to stir, not as chatter, not as analysis, but as a hum, a vibration felt more than heard. This is the divine inhale, the receiving of the infinite into the finite. It is what the ancients called prana ruach spiritus, the breath of God moving through the lungs of man. Thoth, as the Logos embodied, understood this alchemy, that to speak from the inner plane, one must first listen within it. And so the first instruction is not to speak, but to become still, enough to hear the soul's vibration. Can you hear it now? That gentle resonance beneath the noise. You are not here to mimic. You are here to remember. Every breath is an invitation to return to the original frequency of your being, the tone you carried before names, before expectations, before fear. That tone is still inside you, like a note waiting to be struck. Let yourself become aware of how rarely you inhabit your breath. Let yourself feel the grief of that exile, and then let go. No effort, no performance. Just breathe as though the universe is breathing you because it is. In this practice, begin each day not with your to-do list, but with silence. Sit or lie down. Place one hand on your heart, the other on your solar plexus. Inhale slowly through the nose as if drawing golden light into your belly. Pause. Exhale gently through the mouth, like releasing a song that was never yours to hold. Listen not for thoughts, but for tone, for the subtle shift in your field. The more you practice this, the more you will notice that silence is not empty. It is full of guidance, memory, light. This is the vestibule of Thoth, the first gate of inner speech. And here, you do not need to ask for entry. You are already inside. You have simply forgotten to listen. The Kybalion speaks of mentalism, the truth that all is mind. And in this first gate, you meet the original mind before its fragmentation. It is still yet intelligent, quiet yet infinitely potent. The breath is your bridge to it. So begin here, not with words, but with wonder. Not with answers, but with attention. The sacred voice will come, but only after you have remembered the silence that makes it sacred. Long before, stars carved themselves into constellations and rivers found their course, there was vibration. A soundless pulse that rippled through the void, unheard, unseen, but alive. This was not noise. This was intention. This was mind becoming frequency, frequency becoming form. This was the first breath of the Logos, the creative current of consciousness sounding itself into being. Thoth, keeper of the emerald flame, did not merely write the names of gods. He inscribed vibration into matter. He knew that every thought is a tone, every emotion a rhythm, every belief a waveform that sculpts the landscape of your life. And so he taught not through doctrine, but through vibration itself. We live in a universe of frequency. Not metaphorically, but literally. Every cell, every sound, every heartbeat is a dance of oscillation. But here is the truth, hidden in plain sight. You are not just moved by vibration. You are its origin. You are the tuning fork and the symphony. You are the speaker, through which the one mind reverberates into the many. Mentalism. The first Hermetic principle tells us that all is mind. But what is a mind truly, if not a field of frequency, a broadcasting tower of perception and will? To think is to sound. To feel is to tune. And to believe is to sing a pattern into the substance of the world. What song are you singing beneath your thoughts? Modern science hints at this mystery. Through the quantum lens, the observer affects the observed. The measured field collapses into reality. But Hermetic wisdom has known this since before time had a name. Thoth whispered it into the ether. You do not find reality, you generate it, and the breath is your dial. Let us look more closely through the sacred metaphor. Imagine your being as a grand harp. Each string is a thought, an emotion, a memory. Some are frayed with trauma, others resonate with purity. The breath of Thoth does not judge them. It merely asks, are you willing to retune? When you breathe consciously, slowly, reverently, you begin to hear which strings are out of harmony. You feel the dissonance in your body, the tension in your mind. And in this, noticing you reclaim power. You stop reacting and begin composing. There was once a woman I met, burdened by years of self-doubt. Her voice was soft, hesitant, apologetic. She told me, I've always felt invisible, and yet, when we sat together in silence and simply breathed, something astonishing began to unfold. Her breath deepened, her chest lifted, her eyes softened. A low hum escaped her lips, unplanned. And in that hum was a forgotten power, not loud, but undeniable. I feel heard, she whispered, though no one had spoken. This is not a miracle. It is a memory. The soul knows the frequency of its own truth, and when given breath, it begins to sing again. You too can begin this remembering. Each morning, before touching the world, place a sound into your breath. A hum, a vowel, a sacred syllable. Ah, Om Ra, let it rise from your belly, not your throat. Let it vibrate through your bones. Let it cleanse the frequencies you've inherited, those old patterns that do not belong to you. This is vibrational hygiene. This is frequency alchemy. And do not mistake simplicity for weakness. One tone carried with intention can unravel lifetimes of distortion. Thoth does not speak in complexity. He speaks in clarity. And so must you, if you are to align your voice with the current of creation. Let yourself ask, what thought have I been repeating unconsciously? What belief is looping through my field, shaping my experience like a mantra? I forgot I was chanting. Now change it. Not by force, but by frequency. Speak a new tone into your breath. Whisper a truth that feels like home even if it scares you. I am allowed to be heard. My presence is a blessing. I speak from the infinite. Let that become your morning sound. Let it be soft, but steady. And as you do, feel how reality bends, not through control, but through coherence. You are not here to dominate the world, but to resonate with it so purely that it recognizes you as kin. Thoth never needed to shout. His voice carried through time, not because it was loud, but because it was true. So must yours be. You are not a byproduct of the universe. You are its frequency made flesh. Breathe that truth. Sound it. Become it. All language is a cloak, a veil drawn delicately over a much older voice. The voice that lives beneath articulation, beneath grammar and sound waves. It is the same voice that shaped galaxies with a thought that named itself into form before tongues were formed to pronounce it. Thoth, the divine messenger, the silent scribe of the unseen, was not merely a master of language, he was its architect. His words did not describe reality. They constructed it, and he left a trail, not in syntax, but in resonance for those with ears to hear what has no syllable. You speak thousands of words each day, but how many are sacred? How many are rooted in essence rather than performance? When you speak, are you echoing the noise of the world or invoking the voice of your soul? To activate the breath of Thoth is to awaken the word within the word, to realize that sound is not just a utility, but a ceremony. Each utterance has a vibration. Each sentence either opens a door or shuts one. Language is not passive. It is alchemical. Consider how a single word can lift a heart or break one, how a whisper can spark courage or collapse it. These are not metaphors. They are frequency transactions, and you, dear soul, are the merchant of them. The Kabbalion teaches the principle of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. Language is the bridge. When your speech arises from clarity within the world, without begins to mirror it. When your words drip with confusion or fear, the external seems to close in to tighten its grip. Not because it punishes you, but because it responds to your tone. There was once a man humble and weary who came seeking peace. He had read books, attended lectures, tried mantras and meditations, but still his inner world was chaos. When he spoke, it was always about what was wrong, his job, his family, his health. One day, I invited him to speak only what he wanted to see. Not what was, but what could be. Not lies, but possibilities. It was awkward at first. His lips stumbled over affirmations. His tongue felt like stone. But something strange happened. His breath deepened. His voice steadied. He said, "I am learning to speak from stillness." And for the first time, there was a light behind his words. That is the shift, from noise to knowing, from opinion to oracle. You do not need to be eloquent to speak sacredly. You only need to be attuned. When the breath of Thoth flows through you, your words become instruments, not weapons. They lift instead of weigh down. They clarify instead of confuse. Practice this before speaking. Pause. Feel your breath. Feel your intention. Ask silently, is what I am about to say aligned with truth, beauty, or necessity? If not, hold it. Let it distill. Let it ripen within until it is ready to serve, not merely to fill space. Begin to notice your habitual phrases, the ones you say without thinking. I'm tired. I can't. I never get a break. These are not observations, they are incantations. Each one sets a rhythm, a resonance, a repeating pattern. And over time, they become your life. Replace them with quieter truths. I'm restoring. I'm learning. Open to ease. Feel how different those tones are, not just to say, but to inhabit. This is not positive thinking. This is vibrational authorship. The word within the word is not always spoken aloud. Sometimes it is the energy behind what is said, the silence between sentences, the gaze that carries the message more clearly than the mouth. When you align with it, you begin to speak not just to ears, but to souls. People feel seen even when your words are few, because your frequency speaks louder than your vocabulary. This is what Thoth meant by sacred speech. Not ritualistic chants alone, but the conscious use of vibration to uplift, to align, to transform. When you do this, you become a living sigil, a being whose very presence rewrites the energy of a space. So let your voice become a temple. Let each word be placed like stone upon stone, building an architecture of light. Let your silence be golden, not because it avoids speech, but because it prepares it. You are not here to speak like others. You are here to speak as your soul. Speak less from memory, more from mystery. Speak less from pain, more from presence. And above all, let the word within the word rise like incense from the altar of your breath. There is a temple within you, not of stone or scripture, but of sound and silence. It is the resonance chamber of your being, the sacred hall, where thought becomes frequency and frequency becomes form. And like any temple, it must be tuned, not just cleansed, but brought into harmony, lest the echoes within distort the voice you bring forth into the world. Thoth understood the principle of polarity, the dance of opposites that animates all life. Light and dark, inhale and exhale, silence and sound. He taught that mastery lies not in resisting one pole, but in learning to transmute it into its counterpart. Cold becomes heat, fear becomes will, dissonance becomes harmony. Your inner voice, too, is subject to these poles. One day, it inspires. The next, it deceives. Some days, it sings with confidence. Others, it trembles with doubt. But what if all of this is music? What if even the off-key moments are part of a grander song, waiting to be tuned? To harmonize your inner temple is not to silence the dissonance, but to listen more deeply to its message. Like a musician with a finely tuned ear, you begin to notice which thoughts feel sharp, which emotions fall flat, and which inner dialogues have become looping, disharmonic mantras. But remember, sound heals not just through melody, but through attunement. It is not about singing the right notes, but feeling into resonance. And yes, you can do this with your own inner life. Begin with rhythm. The universe is built upon it. Galaxies spin tides, pulse hearts beat. Your breath, too, is a rhythm, an ancient one passed down from the stars to your lungs. Let it become your metronome. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Breathe out for 4. Hold again. Do this not as control, but as ceremony. In this rhythm, you enter coherence. From here, bring your attention to your emotional field. Not to judge, but to listen. Are you vibrating in frustration, in sorrow, in numbness? These are not faults. They are frequencies. Frequencies longing to be acknowledged and gently lifted. Speak to them. Yes, speak aloud. Whisper if you must. Say, I hear you. I am here. Speak not as a judge, but as a healer. Feel how your voice changes when it addresses your own soul. This is the breath of Thoth becoming medicine. There once was a teacher who asked her students to speak to their wounds as if they were children. One man hardened by life scoffed, but in private he tried. He placed his hand on his chest and said softly, I'm sorry, I left you behind. And for the first time in years, he wept not from sadness, but from the release of resistance. His voice cracked open the chamber of his own healing. This is the power of sacred sound, not just to communicate, but to transmute, to turn the base metal of our confusion into the gold of inner harmony. You can do this with mantras, with tones, with simple humming. Find the sound that resonates with your body, not just your mind. Each chakra, each energy center has its own tone. Feel into it. Let your voice become an instrument of alignment. You do not need to know the perfect notes. You only need to listen and allow. Notice how certain sounds feel dense, others light. Notice how your tone shifts when you speak from truth versus fear. Start to sense when your words are sharp or heavy, not just in meaning, but in energy. Then soften, smooth. Let your tone carry love, not just content. This is spiritual alchemy. The Kabbalion tells us that rhythm compensates, that every swing to the left is matched by a swing to the right. Use this. When your mind spirals downward, don't fight it. Swing consciously. Use sound to elevate. Chant, sing, speak. Let your own voice become the pendulum that resets your field. Do this in solitude. Do this in nature. Do this when no one is listening but the universe itself. For it is always listening. You are not broken. You are untuned. And tuning is a gentle, sacred act. So when you feel lost, do not search for advice. Breathe, hum, sing one long note, and let it echo in your chest. Let it find the cracks, the chambers, the tightness, and soften them. Your temple responds. It always does. And in time, you will notice the inner voice that once felt fragmented has become whole. It speaks not in contradiction, but in coherence. And when it speaks, it sings. You are your own instrument. Tune yourself with tenderness. There comes a moment subtle and sacred when the breath steadies, the mind quiets, and the voice that arises is no longer yours alone. It comes not from effort, but from alignment. Not from ego, but from essence. In that moment, you do not just speak, you become the speech. You do not just utter sound, you transmit spirit. This is what it means to speak, as the Logos speaks. The Logos is not a being, but a principle. It is the intelligible sound of the universe consciousness articulating itself into the tapestry of reality. The breath of Thoth, the word of God, the primordial Om, the great I Am, all are names for the same current of creative vibration. When you attune to this stream, you are no longer merely reacting. You are creating, not from thought, but from knowing. Not to prove, but to reveal. The Hermetic principle of mentalism tells us that all is mind, but the Logos is the mind speaking. And when you speak with it, your voice is no longer confined by personal story or social habit. It becomes a wand, a compass, a seed. Every word becomes a spell because it shapes consciousness. You feel it when someone speaks from soul. Their words are few, yet they land with the gravity of stars. Their sentences don't just inform, they transform. This is not charisma. It is coherence. It is the Logos made audible through a human heart. But here's the forgotten truth. This is not reserved for prophets or mystics. You have that capacity now. The only requirement is presence, integrity, a willingness to mean what you say, and to only say what you mean. To speak as the Logos speaks, you must become congruent. Thought, breath, emotion, word, aligned like the strings of a harp, so that when your voice sounds, it carries the full weight of your being. This is not about being loud. In fact, it often moves in whispers. The Logos does not perform. It simply is. You feel it in the still voice that says, "Let there be." Not as command, but as revelation. Let there be light. Let there be peace. Let there be me in fullness. Start small. Speak one true thing a day, not to convince, but to consecrate. It can be as simple as "I'm enough." Or, "This moment matters." Say it aloud, say it gently, but say it like you mean it, and watch how your cells respond. Watch how the air itself seems to listen. There was once a woman who had been silent for years, not literally, but inwardly. Her words were carefully rehearsed, designed to keep the peace. But her soul ached for expression. One morning, after a long breath and a long cry, she whispered to her reflection, "I deserve to exist in my full voice." She said it again and again, and something inside her broke and then bloomed. That phrase became her key, her mantra, her new myth, and her life, once muted, began to sing again. This is the Logos in motion. Let yourself become deliberate with your language. Speak with the awareness that you are casting spells with every sentence. "I can't" becomes "I choose." This always happens. Becomes "I'm learning how to shift this." Feel the power return to your mouth, not to control, but to co-create. And know this, speaking as the Logos is not about having the right words. It's about embodying the right state. When you speak from alignment, even silence carries weight. People feel you, before they understand you. They resonate before they agree. This is how Thoth moved through the ages, not with volume, but with vibration. His teachings endured because they were not tethered to culture or language. They were carried in frequency. You too can speak like this, not to preach, but to remind, not to be heard, but to awaken. So let your voice become a river of light. Let your breath deliver blessings. Let your words be shaped not by fear, but by reverence. Speak to plants, speak to water, speak to your own pain as if it were holy, because it is. Each time you do, you reinforce a truth long forgotten in the noise of the world, that sound is sacred, that language is magic, and that your voice, when rooted in soul, is a force of nature. This is your inheritance, not from books, but from breath, not from others, but from within. You are the breath of Thoth. You are the word before it is written. You are the voice remembering itself into being. Now speak. So here you are, dear soul, at the edge of remembrance. You began in silence, learning to hear the breath that carries the eternal. You attuned to frequency, discovering that your thoughts are tones shaping the unseen. You uncovered the sacred beneath language, finding that every word is a mirror of the soul. You tuned your inner temple, harmonizing shadow and light. And finally, you arrived at the holy threshold, where the Logos itself speaks through you, not with noise, but with knowing. You are not broken. You were never voiceless. You simply forgot that the voice of creation has always lived within your breath. Now, you are invited to speak, not to be louder, but to be truer. Speak to heal. Speak to bless. Speak as the alchemist. You are turning vibrations into visions, breath into being. And when you doubt, return to the breath. There in the quiet hum of now, Thoth still waits, not as a god outside of you, but as the infinite voice within, ready to rise again. May your every word be a temple. May your every silence be a prayer. If this touched something inside you, speak back. Whisper your truth in the comments, or carry it in your next breath. The alchemy has begun.